I'm a missionary. We're about to go out on mission in this afternoon. Um, I just seen a video just now on Facebook, and it's an arrest of Tommy Robinson at anti-Semitism march in in um, in London. Tommy Robinson turns up. He wants to record what's happening. He's going as a reporter. The press put it out that he's far right and smear him on that day. But he just turned up as a reporter. He's turning up as anti-Semitism march, which is a good thing. He's trying to support the Jewish population in Britain, the Jewish people. But yet the media want to smear him as far right. And what really upsets me and really angers me is the two-tier system in the country. Mohammed Hijab led literally thousands of young men in London, and they were all shouting, "Kill the Jews, kill the Jews, kill the Jews." Not one of those men was arrested. Mohammed Hijab was not arrested. Yet you had thousands of young men shouting, "Kill the Jews, kill the Jews," but not one person is arrested. Mohammed Hijab encouraging them, not he doesn't get arrested. But Tommy Robinson turns up at an anti-Semitism march to support the Jewish people, to film what's going on, and yet he's not said anything. Nobody's complained. People are happy for him to be there, and yet he gets arrested. You have thousands and thousands of Palestinian supporters. Many of them are wearing Hamas bandanas on, are flying Hamas flags. Hamas are known as a terrorist organization. None of them are arrested. There are many of these Hamas supporters on our memorials, sitting on our memorials in London. None of them are arrested. And on top of that, there are certain parts of the country where there have been organized meetings in the streets where speakers are speaking openly about jihad, calling for Muslim armies to fight Israel on British soil. Nobody's arrested. They're actually calling for war. They're actually calling for jihad. And then on top of that, no arrest. And on top of that, you have tens of thousands of people walking through London, through Birmingham, through Manchester, and shouting in Intifada, which is also a declaration of war against the Jewish people. And nobody's arrested. But yet Tommy Robinson is arrested. Do you wonder why it's exploded in Dublin recently? You've had the mass riots in Dublin. The people who rioted have been called far right. There's hardly any far right in Dublin, maybe 100. The thousands of people that rioted are disinfected Dubliners and Irish people who feel that they don't have a voice anymore. That those 2 teachers and 3 children that were knifed by an Algerian, people got angry because they feel that they're not respected in their own country. They don't have a voice, and nobody's listening to them. There was a lady who was murdered, and the court case was finished a couple of weeks before. It was a foreign person who killed that person. So the Irish people feel that their country's been taken away from them. 42% immigration has happened. 42% explosion in the population. The Irish population, the indigenous Irish population, is 1%. That's increased over the last 15 years. The immigration population that's made the Irish population increase has been over 41%. So that's 41% of the Irish population booming, not because of the Irish, it's because of the immigration that's brought in. So the Irish people feel that their country is being taken away from. And so we have a pattern here. We have the elites in the Irish, the elites, the NGOs, the people who, NCOs, those who are head of companies, the MPs, the political class, and the media in Dublin conspiring against in Ireland, conspiring against the Irish people who don't want their country to change so radically. And so people are getting angry and annoyed. And then you see the same place in UK. People are getting angry and fed up because they feel that their own country, they're not being listened to, they're not being respected. You have the scenario of people on Poppy Day walking with British flags on Poppy Day being arrested in their own country, celebrating Armistice Day, being arrested, flying British flags, and yet there are thousands of people flying Hamas flags nearly every day in London and nobody's arrested. So people feel that they're not citizens in their own country anymore. That there's a two-tier system going on where you have in Britain now, you have the politicians, you have the media and the wealthy conspiring against the British people, taking the country away from the British people. And so now you have a two-tier system of the police, where the police are happy to arrest Tommy Robinson, they're happy to arrest a retired soldier who's taking a flag, walking with a British flag. They're happy to arrest them. They're happy to arrest a couple that would be surrounded by Hamas supporters, shouted at. And the Hamas supporters are not arrested, but the elderly couple are arrested, and all they wanted to do was respect Armistice Day. They're happy to tell poppy sellers to move on, but they're not happy to tell the Hamas supporters to move on. So we have a two-tier system where the British police no longer are the police of Britain, but they're basically a tool of this neo-fascist liberalism that is hell-bent on destroying nation states and is hell-bent on destroying Britain, hell-bent destroying Germany and France, Ireland, to turn it into some globalist conglomerate, whatever. But the British police are no longer representative of British people. In capitalism, Margaret Thatcher once said that capitalism is about the rule of law and the freedom of people to go about their business, to own property, to be able to have the freedoms to use their gifts and talents that they have to build a life for themselves. And capitalism provides that, and it's based on the rule of law. Socialism and communism has no rule of law. It basically, you have to do what the state says, and there's no individual freedom. And that's what we're seeing in Britain today. We're seeing a communism where the economy is bankrupt, where homelessness is growing, where freedom to own your own property is being taken away, freedom of speech is being taken away. We see the complete implosion of British society. It's basically collapsed. There's no real free speech anymore. You can't even pray silently. You can be arrested for praying silently. Example is a woman outside the abortion clinic. She was praying silently and she was arrested. So there's no freedom anymore in Britain. There's no freedom of expression, no freedom of speech. There's no... it's just the state wanting to rule everything, control everything. And the police are just the soldiers of a state that wants to control everything. The police are not subject to the law because law doesn't matter anymore. The law is irrelevant anymore. It's just about brute power. And if the elite, the globalist, neoliberal, the sort of neo-communist are in control, that's all that matters. The police will do their business. So the police did not bother with Mohammed Hijab walking with his friends, and his friends shouting, thousands of young men shouting, kill the Jews, kill the Jews.